Welcome to GuruCast, the Game Guru podcast for the community by the community. I am DK Productions. I am an indie game developer and an audio and music producer. I've been part of this community for 7 years now. On this podcast, I talk to various members of the Game Guru and FPS Creator universe about FPS Creator, Game Guru Classic, Game Guru Max, and many other topics as well. Do you think you've heard it all when it comes to these game making tools? I don't think so. Now sit back and enjoy the talk. Welcome to episode 2 of GuruCast. My guest today is one of the true OGs of FPS Creator and Game Guru, and he has his own website where he says this about game development. It's awful, illogical, disturbing, but after the years I kind of started to love it back. I just cannot quit it. And today we will check out if that's still the case. He's been a member of the community for 15 years, which is crazy. Thank you for being here today, and welcome, Wolf. How are you?
Hello everyone, thanks for having me.
Nice, awesome. Okay, so why is game development disturbing? That's my first question right here.
First of all, I must have written this like 10 years ago, and I was wondering, what is he going to read now? Oh no.
Yeah, I dug this one out of your website, and yeah, it's pretty insane that you keep maintaining your website over all these years. I'm way too lazy for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too, obviously, because I haven't done it in months. No, actually, I started a brand new website, and I simply haven't gotten around to fill it with content. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, most of my games and presentations online are extremely outdated and need to be overhauled, which I want to do sometime this year.
Yeah, you've definitely got something up your sleeve then, because that's a lot of work. You made many games over the years.
Yes, and they all have to be described and properly offered, and I have to, react to bug reports and everything. So I'm kind of having it on push. I'm sorry, I have to get warm with the English language first.
Yeah, no worries. Okay to everyone listening, just for declaration, we are both native German speakers, so we are kind of, having a hard time, but it's fine. And I guess we will get used to it in time.
It's the German accent episode.
It's the German connection right here today.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, I have to really upgrade my internet presentations, and that's going to take a while.
Yeah, but
just in case the listeners have no idea who I am and are checking up on me online, and all they find are notifications that the websites will be updated at some time. Last posted 6 months ago. It's not that, it's coming back.
Okay, cool. So you've been a part of the community for 15 years. How many games have you made in this time?
I feel like I should say many, but that's actually not the case. I have tried to make a lot of games. I had a lot of projects, probably like 20 or so. But I've actually released only like 6-7 games.
Yeah, that's still quite something when you take a look at other people and,
Well, yeah, there are a lot of people that have been around just as long as I have and have not finished a game, but I guess that's part of their process, and it's actually really hard to make a game. Because you asked me earlier why it is torture to make video games. I think the main point of that is that you have an idea, and you have a specific way you want to make something, and what you end up making is like 5% of the original idea and still kind of crappy. Yeah. But you also kind of love it, and so you keep doing it.
Yeah, it's like, I always say it like this, it's a football club you love and hate at the same time.
Exactly.
You like to watch the games, but you get frustrated also, and at times you just want to throw out your PC out the window, and yeah. Okay, so
Absolutely. You've been a fan for 15 years, but your team won 0 games.
I wouldn't put it like that, but yeah, that's pretty close, I think. What was your favorite project out of all these projects?
Wow, that's incredible. That's hard to say. I think my best release is Ultra Post Mandate, the FPS creator game, the last one I made.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most well-rounded. My favorite project to work on was, I think, Asiphian and Spectre.
Okay. I agree on that FPS creator game you made recently. I love that one. This was really, really great.
I'm happy to hear that because I have the feeling that not a lot of people gave it a try. It didn't work for many people, which is kind of a staple of FPS creator, and it didn't have the same amount of interest in the community as other projects I've made.
Mm. So, some of your FPS creator games were pretty infamous for its time. For example, I know that you told me once an Italian gaming magazine had an article written about your game, Thanatophobia. Is that right?
It was not Thanatophobia, but euthanasia. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I always I always mix them up. Yeah, it was euthanasia. Okay.
Yeah, my games have weird names.
So that's been ages ago, right?
Yeah, that was ages ago. It was during the actual political debate about euthanasia, and some far-right Italian political speaker that is probably not even known anymore has found this game because it was strangely popular in Italy for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And they were using it for their political agenda. They were really claiming that the goal of the game was to promote euthanasia, which it was absolutely not. It was just a silly horror shooter.
Wow.
And that it was made by a cabal of sinister people, which was kind of funny how they put that to corrupt the youth. It's kind of interesting to be on the to be someone who is accused of something like this, because you keep hearing stuff like that in the news and on YouTube, but it's really surreal if you are the guy who is supposed to be the evil guy in the background, you know.
That's pretty insane. So basically you made a game and touched a nerve at this time totally by accident.
Yes, completely by accident. It was kind of interesting because it was 2010, I think, and it was the time of the indie horror game YouTube craze, you know. You had YouTubers play some kind of obscure indie horror game and pretend to be scared, and the kids loved that shit at the time.
Was it 2010 already? I noticed all of this in 2012.
It was 2010 already when I finished the game, but it took a while for the game to get popular online.
Okay, now this is a mandatory question really, and I hope you don't get too bored when I ask this, but how did you get into FPS creator?
That's a long story. Are you sure you want to hear it?
I'm not sure about you, but I got all the time.
All right. So I always wanted to make video games. I mean, that's probably something that we all have in common, even the people listening. And I, as a kid, I went to the gas station where they sold a few computer magazines, really bad ones at the time. I don't know if you remember this one. It was a German one called Screen Fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And back in the day, they always had the free CDs with some kind of crap on it. And yeah, I would always spend my pocket money on that kind of stuff. And one day they had an article about a program called RPG Maker, which was RPG Maker 2000 back in the day. And it was really kind of primitive. You could make relatively complex little RPGs in the resolution of 340 by 320 by 240. Mm-hmm. So really low resolution, kind of anime style RPGs, which was absolutely not my thing. I'm not a big fan of anime. No offense to anyone who is. But hey, I could make my own video games. I didn't know that was possible because before then I always thought, yeah, you had to code. It was really hard work. You needed to have technical knowledge. And the CD was packed with games that other people made. And some of them were horror games. And those were awesome to me. So I started playing around with this for years, but I always wanted to make 3D games. I was born in 1991, and I grew up during the time where 3D, the first real polygonal 3D games came out, and I saw I games evolved from the original Unreal and Half-Life to what we have today, which was kind of magical to see. I'm sorry for the younger generation that missed that. But yeah, I always wanted to make games like that. And eventually I was scouring the internet and I was downloading so many half-finished engines that were awful or just plain impossible to use. Like Earlist 3D, which I think wasn't even a game engine, but a graphics engine, but I had no idea. And by searching that, eventually I found FPS Creator. And that was revolutionary. I had to ask my father to buy it because I was a minor back then still. And yeah, when I installed it, it was the best thing ever.
I think it was, for people above 16.
I don't remember the age restriction thingy of it, but that's probably accurate, yeah.
I actually remember I was about, I think it's been 15 years ago. Yeah. About 15 years ago, I always traveled to Austria to get, uncut games and stuff. Because Germany likes to ban brutal video games.
Are they still doing that?
Not as much as they did previously. But in some rare cases, I think Dying Light is still, banned in Germany. But they are definitely not as strict as they have been in the early 2000s up to 2012, I think. Yeah.
I think this is also interesting for the listeners. He's absolutely right. Germany does censor its video games. And sometimes it's really absurd because I think it was Soldier of Fortune 2, which had you killing and dismembering people in a very spectacular fashion for the time. Mm. And for the German version, they actually replaced all the enemies with robots and changed the storyline.
Yeah.
That's just insane to me.
That's actually insane, yeah. There have been a number of games where enemies have been replaced by robots. I think it was also in Half-Life. In some version of the Half-Life game.
I think so too. I remember something like this, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, I was going to Austria a lot back in the day, and now that I think of it, it's actually insane. But one day I saw FPS Creator in the store shelf, and I was looking at the cover and I was reading through it. And back then I had no desire to make games at all. That came years later, and now that I think of it, I was holding a retail version of FPS Creator in my hands. That was pretty, it's funny. And now that I'm exactly using, not FPS Creator, but the later installments of the series, so to speak, that's pretty cool.
That's interesting that you didn't want to make games back then.
Yeah, I won't talk about my journey about getting into FPS Creator or Game Guru. That's something for another time. But fair, yeah. Small hint, you can listen to that on the upcoming documentation from Avenging Eagle about Game Guru and Game Guru Max.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to that.
Yeah, me also. Okay, so you are very connected to the FPS Creator community.
Well, I used to be more connected to it, and it used to be larger, but I'm still part of it, yes.
Mm. So what do you think about the current state of the FPS Creator community?
We still have a lot of talented people, don't get me wrong, but we are remnants. There are only like a handful of us left that are actively taking part in the community. And I also think that a lot of the people who are still on the servers are not actually using the software anymore, which is sad, but also kind of understandable. I mean, it's an old, the Game Creators engine from 2005 that was never intended to have this long a runtime or to have mature users at all. I don't know if you know this, but FPS Creator was originally released as kind of a silly creation tool for teenagers. Mm-hmm. And the community kept working on it, kept making it do stuff that it wasn't designed to do. Which is also where a lot of the problems came from, because the engine was in no way meant to handle the games that are being made with it.
Yeah.
But you can still make games with it, which, well, that's why still people join the community. That's why people still find out about it.
Yeah, and the thing, the engine not being able to handle stuff is still, a feature today. when you look at TGC products?
Yes, I actually wanted to make another small FPS creator games, like 4 levels for fun, and I never made it past level 1 because there were light mapping bugs, things were not displayed properly, and it was so much work that I just gave up on it. I mean, I made enough FPS creator games. Atropos Mandate is a good last game to have made, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I don't hope this was
Thank
the
you.
last game. I think you should do one more. Maybe with
No.
Black Ice mod.
No, I really don't think so. It was so frustrating, and I had to edit all my Game Guru models again, and no.
Okay. So we've got the first big news from this episode. There are no new FPS creator games coming from Wolf. But never say never, right? You never know.
Said I, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day. Maybe there will be a super mod that will make everything a lot easier, but I think Black Ice mod is as good as it gets for FPS creator.
So, as we already talked about, you are very experienced when it comes to Game Guru and FPS creator. What advice would you give to people who are new to Game Guru or FPS creator? I know you wrote many tutorials.
My first advice would be read the tutorials that are there, because Game Guru has, unlike FPS Creator, Game Guru has a lot of apathy and people just plainly ignoring the community and just using the software on their own. And there's a lot you can do with the software that you simply won't find out just by happenstance. And connecting with the community, taking criticism, and actually looking at what other people are making. Because I feel that a lot of people are simply ignoring what can be done with the engine, downloading a few scripts off the store, and then try to make an open world Skyrim clone. Look at what other people are making, like you, for example. You're the best example. I always link your projects because they simply show what can be done with the engine at its peak.
Thank you. Yeah, I also miss this from new members as well. Like, you can see it on the Discord servers. They arrive, they don't introduce themselves, they start spamming their screenshots, which,
yes.
They are looking like shit, basically. And
I'm not going to name names, but a couple of days ago, there was a guy who was really posting a whole lot of screenshots, like really spamming them. And he introduced the game like, it's beautiful, it's awesome. And then it was just like stock terrain.
Yeah.
Maybe a shack.
Yeah. We've also had a game, Mi Pastor will laugh now if he hears this, but Rogue Planet. I don't remember the full name even, but I think you know what I mean. And which guy made it. That's the perfect example of, not being able to check out your surroundings at all. Like, make your stuff and...
Well, I don't want to, how do you say, slander other people, and I'm not going to name names, but I've actually... this guy was so fascinating to me in his incompetence and insistence that he was competent. That I kind of had to look him up. So I found his YouTube channel where he was talking about some anime visual novel in a very attached way that wasn't healthy for a grown man. So I think that guy is actually a bit not neurotypical, a bit insane.
Yeah. So
that makes it kind of sad,
Yeah, my advice to new people is be humble. Arrive and, check out what's going on here. And well,
maybe also be realistic. Like a lot of people start and they have, their first game is probably not going to sell for $20 on Steam. And I think if you go in with the mindset of actually enjoying the process rather than wanting to finish a product that you can sell, you're going to have a better time, because Game Guru is simply not the best engine to suggest to someone who wants to make a career out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a successful game on Steam. C4Ever has one too, but you're really the exceptions.
Yeah, and I will say this now for everyone who wants to make a game and sell it on Steam. It is not worth it at all. You are making at least I'm not making any profit with Dark Skies, by the way. Every dollar I earn with Dark Skies goes right back into hiring voice actors, buying models, hiring people to do the weapon animations, because I can't fucking animate like 70 plus guns. But I'm also kind
I
of
couldn't animate one gun.
yeah, and it's just my standard that I just want to make a decent game. And if you arrive on the scene, if your goal is to make a decent game, get rid of stock stuff. I remember you telling me this as well when I started with Hunted.
Yeah, not necessarily get rid of it completely, but I see a lot, Game Guru has a lot of models from different people. And like when you have downloaded a bit of stuff and you bought a few model packs, you have the mega packs and everything. Now you have media from like 50 different guys. And 50 different guys are going to have different art styles. So the least you can do is texture everything in your own art style. What is your game going to look like? Is it going to be dark and contrasty? Is it going to be colorful and pleasant? Pick an art style. Don't just drop random stuff that you have on your map and think that it's going to be a level. It's not. Game Guru is a very simple engine. In other engines, you can add a lot of post-processing and shader effects to make everything look like it's coherent. In Game Guru, you can't do that, so you have to put in a bit of work with your media.
Yeah, retexturing is... I discovered this after I finished Hunted, but, Dark Skies is the perfect example of... I retexted everything.
Yeah, that's why everything works.
Yeah, and achieving a coherent look, like you said, it's the perfect advice. Stock assets aren't necessarily, bad, but make good use of them. If you use them, just don't randomly drop them in and expect people to go nuts over the screenshots. That's just wrong.
Yeah. Also, if you see the game in motion and you have those really bad Arteria 3D models, the ones from the mega packs, mixed with high polygon stuff, different kind of character models in very different styles, and it's sometimes, actually, I don't want to preach what people are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. I mean, everyone can do what they want.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
They also have to be a bit realistic when people are reacting to it later.
Yeah. So to everyone, I'm making the statement now. We are just two random Game Guru dudes, and you don't have to take anything seriously, we say. But if you wanna, make something decent and get better, you are probably on the right side with us.
Yeah, that's why I've always given people constructive criticism. Here's what I think, and most people appreciate that actually, because if you are a creative person and you have passion for your work and you put it online, there's nothing more demoralizing than like a little thumbs up icon and someone going, "Good job."
Yeah, that's basically they could have.
You see someone else post right after something you have really worked a whole week on, and it's just like stock terrain with a house on it and a tree, and you get a little thumbs up icon and someone else says, "Good job."
It absolutely means nothing.
So I think that when people post screenshots, they actually want to hear what people think about it. What do they like? What do they dislike? But maybe I'm in the minority for that, which is strange because there was a lot more of that in the FPS creator community than in the Game Guru community.
So you think people were more vocal about their opinions?
More vocal about their opinions. There was a lot more passion going on back in the day. And just more community, more criticism, more people playing, giving feedback, more feedback. That's what I miss a bit about the Game Guru community.
Yeah, I also
There's very little interaction in that regard. People are super helpful. It's a fantastic community. I wouldn't make games without them because my scripting is horrible. But I kind of miss that. That was a good time.
Yeah, I totally understand, yeah. So let's change the subject a bit. Let's talk about sound design.
All right.
So custom music, as you know, has always been a huge focus in my projects, and this also applies to you.
Yeah, but you're better at it.
Thank you. I wouldn't say I'm better, but I just love the music and stuff you do for your projects. There are, I can listen to any of your games audio and be like, okay, this is made by Wolf. I know it right away.
I think it's important to develop a style, which is why I brought up retexturing stuff in your style, because everyone has a style. Every creative person has a personal style. There's no way that you don't have one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will now play a recording I made from various titles you made. A little bit of a compilation of, background music, main menu music, and some ambience as well. And we are going to listen it now.
You made it inside unnoticed. Good job. I'm getting a pretty good signal from you. Recent satellite intel suggests that you might be up against more opposition than we initially expected. We doubt that you will be able to remain hidden much longer. You're looking for some kind of laboratory. Inside should be a large glowing cylinder. That's the data rod. You are now behind enemy lines. The military police is held up in heavy combat with most of the gang's better equipped force, but you can still expect heavy resistance around their headquarters.
So that stuff is just amazingly beautiful, and I will say this right now, even though it is a bit cringe maybe, but I've listened to your stuff at night when sleeping also a lot.
That's cool. That's awesome. Thank you.
So what's your source of inspiration when you make music?
Vangelis, Blade Runner, and I think just trying to get across an atmosphere. I can't actually play notes, so I'm just kind of. Do you know Keyboard Cat, the GIF?
I think so, yeah.
That's me. That's me making music basically, and then I save everything as a VAV on the computer, and later on I will slow things down and add some humming, and then it sounds kind of good. But I'm not really a musician. I'm just trying to make atmosphere, because that's the most important part to me when making games, and it's the most fun part to me when making games.
Yeah, absolutely. This applies to me also, by the way.
Yeah, no.
I can't read notes also. I just sort of know what sounds good and what notes fit together and what notes don't. So yeah. What software do you use for your making music?
Audacity and WavePad, but I have inherited a rather large sound studio with a Kurzwahl and a Yamaha synthesizer from my father,
Oh, cool.
and a lot of effect pedals and stuff. And I don't know really what I'm doing, but in the end, I have recorded a couple of hours of sound, and then I cut out the bits that are usable.
Awesome.
Because when playing with synthesizers and you don't know what you're doing, then you have a good thing going, and suddenly you press the wrong button, and it goes from bom bom bom. Oh no! So yeah, there's a lot of done in editing, and I also use old recordings that my father made
Okay.
and samples, and I'm grabbing everything I can, and then I remix it and I make my own stuff, basically.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so cool. For this episode of the podcast, I was revisiting some of your games, and it's just so cool. You get into the level and you have that atmosphere right at you. You are getting, sucked in right at the start. And that's
Yes, thank you.
And that's also something that's completely missing in today's games, I think.
Yeah, the AAA ones have, how do I say this? The level is being outsourced to the art department, and then they drop in the scripting, and that's kind of it. I will also say that it's really hard to make an atmospheric open world. I think the only people that managed are CG Projekt Red and Bethesda.
Yeah.
Because you can say what you want about Bethesda, their maps are always great.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. But if you have an open world where you have those arcade activities spread around, it's really hard to get an atmosphere going, which is why I'm actually not a big fan of open world games.
Understandable, yeah. Skyrim has a legendary soundtrack, and it's also
Absolutely.
an open world game. Shame on me, but I don't know who the artist is who made the soundtrack, but
Jeremy Soule.
Yeah, thanks. For the Fallout series, it has been Einan Zur, and he also made really cool music for Fallout. So
Yep. And I think I'm now thinking about like really cool musicians from video games like Jasper Keat, who made the soundtrack for Hitman 4.
yeah.
But also, yeah, old shooters and games were more atmospheric than the recent ones. I think they were not so overproduced, and they had a bit better pacing also.
Speaking about legendary composers for games, Jasper Kidd, and a little fun fact, I also wrote with the guy who made the soundtrack for Project IGI. I wrote with him on SoundCloud, actually. Let me look at Kim Jensen, I think. Yeah, Kim Jensen.
That soundtrack was really good too. I mean, Project IGI is such a simple, primitive game, but the sound ambient, you think you're in a whole world.
Yeah, I'm also listening to the Project IGI, IGI 1 and 2, the soundtrack of these games, while making levels sometimes also.
It's just really good ambient, because I remember playing that as a kid, and all you see is a bit of generated terrain that goes on forever with like 2-dimensional trees on it. But the soundtrack makes you feel like you're really behind enemy lines somewhere in the deepest Russia.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Little things like back in the day.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so in your games, you also use your own voice a lot, and also your voice has been featured in my games as well. In the recording I just played, I especially liked the robotic voice that gives orders to the people in that industrial area. So did you do that yourself?
Yeah, I did that myself. That was actually fun to do, because I was standing behind the microphone, like really sinister, like, do not attempt to go out and adding a lot of effects. That's the most important part about making games, it's having fun. I always use my own voice because it's there and it's cheap.
And it's awesome. I really, your voice is great, and it's been a great, trademark, or of your games.
You were actually the one that got me to buy a better microphone, because for years I was recording for Euthanasia, my first larger release, I was recording my voice with an old digital camera, and it was absolutely terrible. And later on, I was using a microphone I bought in the dollar store, and that was also not great. But now I have a decent microphone.
Yeah, so kudos to me at this point for, making Wolf buy a better microphone, which I am really happy for. And yeah, you can today in this episode enjoy Wolf with, dashing HD quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Not as jarring as the voice acting was in my old games. There was one game, Metric Pulse, I made with my ex-girlfriend actually together, and that was also a lot of fun, just recording the voice lines. As I said, the point is to have fun, and making sound is super fun.
It reminded me a bit of Anya and Jones in IGI also.
That was the inspiration.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, so we are going to talk about Game Guru Classic a bit now.
Yeah, it's GuruCast after all.
Yeah, indeed. I can spoiler this also. In future episodes, I will, talk about FPS Creator also more, because it's a very interesting topic, and I have never been a part of that community, so I arrived with Game Guru basically. So I really want to learn more about FPS Creator, because I think it's really interesting.
It has an interesting history, and the community was awesome, is still awesome.
Yeah.
But what's, I think, a bit lost to time for the newer members of the Game Guru community, Game Guru used to be FPS Creator Reloaded, and it's very similar to FPS Creator, so it's kind of almost the same software.
Yeah, it's the same code.
In 2014 or 13, I had a beta version of FPS Creator Reloaded, which is now Game Guru, and it was basically just FPS Creator with a terrain editor.
And I think these old videos can be viewed on YouTube on the channel of Lee Bamber, the guy who made it actually. These videos are really, I think impressive, because you can see dynamic lighting coming from the sun, and it goes with the time of day. And
oh yes, the Kickstarter pledge thing, which was way more advanced than anything we ever got. But, well, what we got is still fun,
Sometimes you have the opportunity to look at really early versions of game engines or games, like basically, maybe the videos that have been around about Stalker 2, the actual Stalker 2, not the one which is in development now, but the previous one who got cancelled. And I got the same feeling with FPS Creator Reloaded. You look at this video and you have that such a feeling like, oh wow, this is on, it's currently in the works and it's gonna be amazing. And there's a sort of a fascination to the technological side of it, like
and to see what could have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to see what could have been. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. So now we are really going to Game Guru Classic terrain. So I think when you make a Game Guru game and it doesn't look like Game Guru, you are on the right path. So what's your advice on achieving a non-Game Guru-like look?
Well, the first thing is, when you start the engine and you see that big, green, ugly terrain, never use that terrain, ever. It's the worst thing since... I don't know. I don't want to say something terrible here, but it's really bad.
Yeah.
And I think a good start for everyone is low ambient lighting, high surface level lighting. Because when you have high ambient lighting, everything will look like dog shit.
Yeah.
And as I said, retexturing, using your own media and having your own style will make the game look like something you did. Like I can immediately spot a Duchen Cube game. And it simply does not look like a Game Guru game. If I look at your game and I think, oh, that's Game Guru right away.
Then you will tell me, and I will do everything in my power that you don't have to write this comment again.
Yeah, well, it's a bit there's a little asterisk to it because we are using Game Guru a lot and we are part of the community for years, so we can spot Game Guru games even if they don't look like Game Guru games. But if someone who has a passing familiarity with Game Guru on Steam looks at your game and posts Game Guru, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. And get rid of the HUD also.
Oh yes, of course, the HUD is awful.
And get rid of stock guns, stock crosshair.
And if you're that one person who uses different gun packs with different hand models, maybe game making is not for you. I'm sorry to tell you. How to break
I knew this was coming from you because I think exactly the same. It's totally unbelievable how people can, have a character that starts with a pistol and a bare hand, and in the next level he has like a sci-fi weapon with a sci-fi suit on, and if you, press mouse button once, you still have the old hand. That's... Yep. I will never understand it.
I've been thinking about that actually because, as I said, Game Guru is a what you see is what you get kind of engine, so you see that, and there's no way that you don't notice that. And if you actually don't notice that, again, game making is not for you. But I think the thought process, that's a hard one to say for Germans. Thought process.
Thought process, yeah.
You're better at it than I am. I think they have it, so they use it.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with, using it, but if you want to make a serious game and, put many, many screenshots on the forums, like, make sure it's at least decent, People will less likely, be interested in your stuff when you post the most basic stuff in your screenshots.
Yeah. As I said, I'm always giving people criticism and feedback as much as I can. Feedback is a better word. And most people are really grateful for it, or at least say, yeah, thanks, I try to make it, fuck you. But some people are actually hostile towards you because they were convinced that the stock terrain with a bunch of trees on it was actually an awesome game. And I have a fascination with that because they see this game, they see other games, and I don't know. I think a lot of people were raised in a way that anything they did, no matter what it was always deemed great,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice drawing. Let's put it on the fridge. And it's just like scribbles.
Yeah, they are not used to their parents saying no, right?
Maybe it's also a German thing. We are more open to honest criticism than other cultures. But some people are really convinced that what they are doing is worth money. And one guy really gave me as a reason because he spent a lot of time on it.
That doesn't have to say anything. Yeah. So we talked about you giving advice to the community many times. Yeah, as good as you can. Many times over 15 years now. And I'm really happy that I can show you this now. I've been asking various members of the Game Guru community and FPS creator community how they would describe Wolf in a few sentences. And we will start with 42 pixels.
This is going to be it. Okay.
I was looking forward to this for, 1.5 weeks since I had the initial idea. And I'm so happy that, some guys participated. I asked a lot of people. And some didn't make it, but I managed to get at least some, so hope you enjoy it. And here's the first opinion from 42 Pixels.
My name's Evan, I am 42 Pixels, and I would describe Wolf as the old battle axe. Reliable, dependable, never fails.
It's short but sweet.
I guess.
An old battle axe, reliable, dependable, always there. And always there for me also.
Yeah, you see?
There might be a delay of 2 days, but I always get an answer. Thanks for that, by the way. Okay, so the next opinion is from Avenging Eagle.
This is Avenging Eagle. Well, what can I say about Wolf? He's a helpful and constructively critical cornerstone of the game creators community, and has been for many years. He conducts himself with a maturity well beyond his years. I actually can't believe that he's slightly younger than me. There's a lot of talented people in the game creators community. You know, some are great modelers, some have a flair for level design, and some are expressive musicians. Wolf is one of those rare people who's a mixture of all of those things, and his games demonstrate a fluency in so many different disciplines and always have really deep backstories and rich lore. One thing I will say though, the titles of his games make no fucking sense at all, but that's fine, they're still awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And I had no idea that you're older than me.
Yeah, he's slightly older than you, yeah. There was a discussion about this in our Discord server, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. But thank you. Thanks a lot. Right back at you.
So the next opinion is from Mipastu.
Hello, this is Mipastu from the Oceans. Dats asked me to describe Wolf in one sentence. So the Wolf is like dad of Game Guru. He's always there. He loves and supports everyone if there is reason for that, but he also comes with the leather belt if there is need for that too. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, totally awesome. He comes with the leather belt. What do you like more, appreciating people or the leather belt?
I like to appreciate people, but, it's not that I want to be the guy with the leather belt, but it's just that no one else in the community does it, and sometimes it seems it's necessary in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And
because some people have no fucking manners, or they spam, or they don't know not to double things like that,
Yeah, basic stuff. Yeah, and I think you're one of the best when it comes to swinging this belt.
Well, yeah, I think it's better to outright tell someone in a civilized manner, like, "Hey, dude, stop spamming so many screenshots," than complaining about it in a Discord server he can't see, and not say anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as an example.
Greetings goes to Mipastu.
Yes, thank you.
Come home safe, and I hope we can have a new contest this year sometime. Maybe in May or something.
He's on a boat now, a giant shipping boat, which is interesting. It's an interesting job.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been to Mexico, I think.
Fascinating.
A month ago, yeah. Okay, so I got more opinions about you, and the next one is here.
First, I have to ask a question.
Yeah?
Did no one just say, "Wolf, oh, he's a fucking opinionated asshole, fuck that guy"?
Absolutely not. I will include
that's nice.
all the answers I got from the community members.
Wonderful.
So, here's the next one.
Hey, Ghost LOL here, author of few little FPS creator games and few example maps for GG Max. Wolf, what can I say about him? I think he helped me a lot with his harsh, but at the end of the day completely justified criticism, because sometimes you can have a hard time emotionally detaching from your own stuff, from your own level, from your own game, because you spend so much time on it, and then somebody says it looks like dog shit, or like Salmon, for example. But he was right, actually, and he helped me a lot with lighting, with his tutorials and stuff on his blog that I read a few times just to be sure. And yeah, and it works, and it made my levels look better. So yeah, that's something, huh?
Yeah, thank you.
So
Yeah, I've written a lot of tutorials in the past, but I'm glad that people read them and that people find them helpful.
I have actually on my hard drive, thanks to Lafette, he sent me a really, really ancient tutorial. I think it was your first one of FPS Creator. I have the PDF file here. I'm not going to read it or anything, but I was looking at it. It's so cool, to see the German writing, and really cool and very helpful. Since
It's in German.
It's in German, yeah. I will send it to you later if you want.
Yeah, please do that, because I don't remember writing anything like that in German.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, that's been pretty amazing.
Awesome, thank you.
The next opinion comes now.
You did some real research here. I'm flattered.
Yeah, I've been very busy. Yeah, no, when I started this podcast, I didn't expect it to be this much work, but I love it, and it's a real challenge for me. and it's a blast. So here's the next opinion.
Hi, my name is C4Ever08, and if I could describe Wolf in one sentence, it would be this. He's cunning. He's smart. And he also has a long mane of nice shiny hair. No, in all seriousness, Wolf is a really good guy to talk to. If you have questions about Game Guru, the guy knows his stuff. I think he is a very intelligent person to talk to. I like talking to him. He has a lot of good, advice for games that I've made in the past. And he's a really down-to-earth guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Right back at you.
So, we are now coming to the last one, and here it is.
Hey, this is Nomad Soul from the FPS creator Black Ice Mod team. I've always followed Wolf's work since the FPSC days, and he has one of the most unique artistic styles I've seen. He's a great technical artist who learns how to get the most out of the tools and shares a lot of useful information with the community, like his guide to light mapping, which is really generous and useful. We actually used the last projects he made in Black Ice Mod as a benchmark for testing performance with different features and making sure we could run his levels as standalone games. I can't wait to see what he does next, and I'm sure it will be fantastic. Cheers.
Thank you. And Nomad Soul is one of the people who made Black Ice Mod, and without Black Ice Mod, there would be no FPS creator community left. I'm sure of that. So we have to really be grateful for him to keeping it alive.
Yeah. And I even bought Black Ice Mod Advanced, even though I don't use FPS Creator at the moment. I keep saying to myself, but I keep saying to myself, one day I will try out FPS Creator for real, and maybe make a tiny game with it. But I'm not sure this day will ever, come. But
that's going to be rough because it's kind of like an old Game Guru, and you're going to miss a lot of features the Game Guru has.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Game Guru game of all time?
Good question. Think about that one.
Yeah, no worries.
My favorite project is, I think, your Taipei contract.
Thank you.
But when it comes to finished games, I have to say it's Dark Skies, simply because it's the most advanced Game Guru game that is out there, and I'm actually really surprised playing it. Like my favorite part was when I'm in the valley with the sniper, and the sniper actually walks up the tower.
Wow, that took me a whole day to make it. Yeah. Thanks to Small G though, he really saved my ass that day. Yeah.
He actually walks up the stairs and everything. And if the listeners don't know, character AI is one of the weak spots of Game Guru, and it's really difficult to make compelling NPCs and enemies. So that was a real feat that he did that.
Thank you. And it's actually one of my favorite levels of the game also. Yeah.
Yeah, one of mine too.
One side note about Taipei contract though, it's basically a technical demo, just as a little distraction from Dark Skies, But yeah.
Yeah, but it's the most animated Game Guru game out there. Yeah, I've seen some really impressive large levels, like C4Ever makes gigantic cities and stuff. It's really cool to see. But wait, what was I talking about?
About Taipei contract.
Yeah, exactly. It's so animated. You have a lot of flying cars and the hot air, how do you say, zeppelins? And just to see all that buzzing around with the trains coming in these seemingly large levels with NPCs walking about, that's just something that you don't see in other Game Guru games. That's also really unique to see that.
Yeah, and that's also a community effort, I must add, because Small G helped me with the trains and the flying cars, and Lafette did the airships and the NPCs, he helped me so much in all of my projects the recent years, and it's like C4Ever08 said in the first episode, it's like having a studio at your disposal for free, basically.
Yep, that's actually accurate, yeah. simply because like Aaron AI with his weapon designs, like C4, like not C4ever, like
BSP?
no, Eamon Moses and wow, I forgot his nickname. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. The other guy who helps a lot with the scripts, who is a really talented scripter.
T-Bone? Small G?
Small G, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, without those guys, I couldn't make anything. Like, my scripting is pretty terrible. And like Eamon Moses actually helped me script the health HUD you see in the Spectre alpha versions. Stuff like that. Like everything I have is based on script-wise is based on someone else's work. Without this community, it would simply not be possible to make a decent game with these engines.
Yeah, that's true. I also have to give credit to Armin Moses as well. He helped me with, in Stalker, there's a feature that you can hide the HUD with one button. And I really like that because you can take screenshots anytime and, don't have to worry about disabling scripts manually in the game directory or something. You just have to press one button and it hides the HUD. I always wanted to say, and it makes the game for you.
Yeah.
This is also a great line from Lee, isn't it? It was from Rick, I think.
Yeah, no, those two are comedy gold.
I will include the audio after I edited this episode, but it's awesome.
Yeah, do that.
Level editor that is so easy to use. You just draw out your levels, add your characters, your pickups and your weapons, then press one button and it builds the whole game for you.
Yeah, but I wanted to say, Avenging Eagle mentioned that I'm one of those people who are good at everything. That's actually not true. As I said, my scripting is terrible. I'm not that good as 3D modeler. And I think C4ever said it in the last podcast, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. But when everything comes together, it's kind of like a real video game, so that's cool.
Yeah. So what was it like to use Game Guru for the first time?
Absolutely terrible.
I can imagine that you had high expectations.
Actually, I didn't, because I knew TGC engines from years of using FPS Creator. I bought FPS Creator in late 2005, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the first version of Game Guru was very blurry. It ran with 20 FPS. Everything had a muddy kind of look to it. The lighting didn't work at all. Everything looked, if you put a light down, everything just glue in that color. It was awful for the first couple of years. But they improved it gradually. They made a lot of strange design decisions, a lot of mistakes, in my opinion. But the current version we have is actually fun to use.
Yeah.
But I always saw the potential. It was always like just a little bit more, and this is really good. Just a little bit more, and this is actually usable.
Yeah, totally agree.
And right now, it almost happened.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I really hope we get flashlight shadows next.
I can live without it, but it would be cool.
Yeah.
But dynamic lighting shadows, that would be great.
Yeah. So, when we are talking about dynamic light and shadows, we will talk about Game Guru Max.
Well, I'd rather have a few dynamic lights in Game Guru Classic, but we can also talk about Game Guru Max.
So, first of all, what's your opinion about Game Guru Max?
Well, I don't want to come across as too negative, but I actually don't care anymore. When it was first announced, I was like, wow, they're going to make a better Game Guru, which was kind of the same like when they announced FPS Creator Reloaded. It was supposed to be just a little bit of a modernized FPS Creator with new features, as you have seen in the Kickstarter page. And this was the same. I mean, remember backwards compatibility?
Yeah. I hope someday this might still be, something, but...
I don't believe it. It's so different. There's no way they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Which I knew, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see it also at this time, yeah.
And I don't like how the engine handles. I think everything takes way too much time. They have these silly 3D previews when you browse your entity map, your entity collection, and everything is extremely inconvenient. I mean, it's easy to use, but it's also slow to use. And Game Guru and FPS Creator were fast.
Yeah, you need much more clicks when you when you create
exactly.
a level. Yeah. Totally agree on that one. And that's basically the common sense when you talk to Game Guru Classic veterans. Like Lafette said it, Avenging Eagle said it, me, we both said it now. It has that, it doesn't appeal to Game Guru Classic users. At least to some. Because I see like Synchromesh and he makes stuff with Game Guru Max, or other people, they went on themselves as well, and they seem to be fine with GG Max.
Yes, there's also the personal issue that I have with the HUD, with the game. I mean, is it looks like it's trying to pretend to be something it's not. Like it's trying to pretend another engine.
Yeah.
And that's kind of... TGC has an unfortunate history with not knowing what they have. They did not know how revolutionary FPS Creator was until the community kind of started to jump on it. And if Game Guru was a little bit less mismanaged, it would have been amazing. I mean, it's on Steam. It's very well known. If it was really competent, we would not have the same awesome community we have now, but it would have made TGC a whole lot more money than it did in its broken state.
Yeah. Like the TGC products are basically like a rough diamond, I think. They have so much potential, but
yes,
those finishing touches, at the right spots.
That's why I stuck with Game Guru, even though, as I said, the earlier version was pretty terrible. But talking about Max, another thing I don't like about it is the way it renders.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it on the Discord. Everything looks like a generic Ubisoft game on low settings.
Yeah, exactly. Low settings. Oh my goodness, that's a perfect description for it. Yeah. I don't like to bash on Game Guru Max, but everyone has to agree with this one, I think. Yep. As I said in the last episode, I can make more coherent levels in Game Guru Classic than in Game Guru Max.
Yeah, there aren't enough settings, and I also don't like how the community handles the development of it, because whenever I browse the Game Guru Max Discord server, nobody's really talking about fundamentals like, hey, we need this, we need better performance, we need that. Everyone is like, we need this specific post-processing shader.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, but how about we make a game engine first?
Yeah. Deal with the basics first, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe do something that not every game looks the same. Like, I noticed in Lee's interview that he seemed surprised that people would want to make their own biomes.
Yeah. I was like, wow, the first thing I do when I create a Game Guru game, a new project, like whatever, for upcoming contest or you name it, the first thing I do is change the terrain texture right away. After this, I remove the HUD.
Absolutely. I have mine disabled by default.
Yeah, okay. That works also, yeah. So, if you were Lee Bamber, what would you do differently?
Everything. Let's try to think of this. I don't know. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I have a tendency to speak English very fast, like I know it. And I hope everyone understands me. But that aside, what would I have done differently if I would, for Game Guru Max or for Game Guru Classic?
Yeah, for Game Guru Max now.
For Game Guru Max now, I would build upon what Game Guru is, what the community is trying to do with it, and I would improve the features that I actually wanted. I would not have this gigantic biome approach that everything must be a huge forest.
And you can't even, use all of it. Like the map is big enough, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a very strange design decision, and I always felt that these trees, like when they are too far apart, and it looks like. Have you ever seen hair plugs, like fake hair on someone's head?
Actually, I don't think so.
It looks like that.
They are placed on top of the terrain, and it doesn't fit together. You mean?
Yes, it looks weird.
Yeah,
looks like ant legs. Also, but that's just a very specific point I'm pedantic about. Sorry. No, I think one of the bigger mistakes for Game Guru was to make it not just FPS Creator Reloaded. Because they added like third-person controls that don't work and nobody uses, and like top-down view that doesn't work and nobody uses, and spend a lot of time with that, pretending to make a tool that can make all kinds of genres. But really, all it can do well is first-person.
Yeah.
And I think they should focus on that with Game Guru Max, and really polish that and really make something that can do any kind of first-person genre, RPG, adventure, shooter, whatever. But don't make an all-rounder and do everything wrong. Let me rephrase that. Don't make an engine that is supposed to do everything but nothing can do nothing right.
Yeah,
because that's Game Guru.
Yeah. So I think it's only Lee and maybe one other guy working on GG Max at the moment, and they really should focus their limited resources.
Yes, and speaking about that, I think it's a bit too big of a project for two guys.
Yeah.
Like it started out like, hey, we are going to make Game Guru, but we're improving it, we're making it better. And I was on board with that, but instead they now have this gigantic behemoth of a project, and wow, I don't think they can deliver on that. Sorry. As I said, my view on Max is currently wholly negative. I don't have any positives, so sorry.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize. That's why I'm asking people. You don't read that kind of stuff on the Discord servers or on the forums, maybe. At least I didn't. So it's important. Yeah.
I also noticed that in the Game Guru Max community, a lot of people, there's some people who just want to make games, which is what it's for, but a lot of people are already there with that mindset of, yeah, I'm going to release on Steam, I'm going to sell it, and it's going to be a great... And they have never made a game before, and...
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a hobby. It's not going to make you any quick cash. It's just not going to happen.
Not at all. And take this advice from someone who has really, seen it all on Steam, basically. And so let's switch on the subject again a bit. Let's talk about other engines, actually.
Oh, no.
Let's talk about this one. I think a year ago, you were working with Unreal Engine.
Oh yes, I'm always working with Unreal Engine on and off.
So you still you still use it?
No.
No.
There is kind of, when you use Unreal Engine, I always approach it with like, okay, now I tried it again because I have better hardware. My previous attempt that was with, I could barely run the engine. Everything was lagging and it wasn't fine. Kind of like early Game Guru. But now that I have better hardware, I was like, okay, let's try this again. Let's be really serious about it, because I was so disappointed with Game Guru Max that actually what was the catalyst for me to use Unreal Engine was just how much I didn't agree with how they made a Game Guru Max. And at first you get your first stuff working, like, hey, you see I can do that, and then you get a little better, you feel omnipotent, like, yeah, I'm going to make a really awesome like 5-level game. And then you realize, okay, wow, now I have to get this AI to work with my gun system. Now I have these animations to somehow make sense. Now I have to program these footstep sounds for specific things. And you can do it, but you also kind of realize how much time this is going to really need. And you're completely alone with it. And I just don't have the patience. I don't have the discipline to do it. There are people who make gigantic Unreal Engine games on their own. There are some of those on Steam, and I have no idea how. Maybe these people don't have any other hobbies or anything else to do. Maybe they are simply geniuses, but I'm not that kind of person. So I'm going to be officially declare that I'm not going to make anything substantial in Unreal Engine after all.
Okay. So I think what Unreal Engine or Unity is missing is like a Game Guru community.
The community is all right, but they're very technically focused. They're not interested in what kind of games other people are making. They're interested in like the tech. That's what I had with Spectre. People were hitting me up like, hey, Unreal Engine 5.1, are you going to use these specific trees? And I was like, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah. So it's much less personal. I think when it comes to Game Guru, the great thing is it's a big family, basically.
That is why it's actually a blessing that it's such a hard to get into engine. I mean, the community is very small and it's getting smaller, which is unfortunate. If I wasn't FPS creator veteran and new TGC, if I was buying Game Guru, starting it up and seeing this green terrain screen staring back at me, I don't think I would use it. I would never get to the point where I look why other people are making cool stuff with it. So I can see why our community is so small, and I'm kind of grateful for it because imagine if Game Guru was like a hit like Roblox or something like that. The community would be gigantic. There would never be such a feeling of knowing the people. There would never be people doing the kind of stuff with it that we are doing. It would just be this anonymous gray mass of thousands of people.
Yeah.
So in a strange way, Game Guru kind of sucking is good for it.
It's a niche product, yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess your current status on your project is, on hold or cancelled maybe in Unreal Engine. Spectre, I think it was?
I tried to make the alpha versions of Spectre made in Game Guru in Unreal Engine, and yes, it's currently cancelled. Absolutely.
So do you work on a game at the moment?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I'm actually I was taking months to come up with a good idea because I was kind of demoralized after not being able to make Spectre the way I wanted it to make. But I'm actually going to get back to that. I'm going to make Spectre again, but later with my experience after I made this game. So I was kind of wondering, what am I going to do? You may have noticed that I was asking about where I should set the game because it doesn't really matter if it's tropical or European. So I went with European. I was trying out some things. And then I realized that the story I had was basically another version of Spectre, a lesser version of Spectre. So I said, no, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to make a prologue for a Scythian, which is set in a city, kind of like Type A Contract.
Cool. Awesome. Sounds great. So you're making this in Game Guru Classic?
Absolutely, yes.
Cool. Nice. So we have like the statement of earlier where you said no more FPS creator games, but we get to see another Game Guru game.
Yeah, there is probably never going to be an Unreal Engine game, but there's going to be another Game Guru game, and there may be another FPS creator game, but currently I'm not working on anything like that. Maybe at some point, I don't know. I don't want to go on record like there's never again going to be another game. Don't want to do that.
Yeah. I agree on that because I'm like the same. I don't want to say that I will never do this or that again because I don't even, I might actually start the work on Dark Skies tomorrow or even in a month. I can never tell.
Absolutely, yes. Sometimes I have like the past months, I didn't really do anything. I wasn't motivated simply because I was still kind of down from not being able to make Spectre. And I didn't have a good idea, but now that I have a good idea, the passion is back. And it's going to be really interesting to make these city levels. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, especially with Game Guru, actually. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be great, I guess.
Thank you. I hope so.
So let's talk about Unity for a second.
Okay.
You used it as well, and what was your experience with it? Like,
it's kind of cool, but it's also really annoying. Unlike Unreal Engine, Unity has this strange quirk. I don't know if it still has it, but it used to be that if any script is broken, and as I mentioned, I'm not good at scripting.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't use it in the level you're currently working on, if anything in your library, and I don't have to tell you, our libraries get pretty big, anything isn't exactly the way the engine wants it, you have to stop everything you do it and fix it.
Yeah.
Because it refuses to work. And that was getting so frustrating after a while that I simply, I have a prototype you can see on YouTube, and it's looking okay. But it was the same with Unreal Engine. The amount of work was simply too foreign and too big, and the engine was simply frustrating to use.
When you mentioned the error coming up and you have to fix it right away, I exactly knew what you were talking about because I used Unity as well previously. Before the work has started on Dark Skies, I was using Unity, and I created a bunker level in Unity, and I agree on basically everything you said. It's
even if you buy stuff off the store. I'm glad I got a refund, by the way. But even if you buy stuff off the store and you try to use it, you first have to fix errors in the product you just bought. And that is relatively often the case. And I'm just not that kind of coder. I mean, also, can I say something inflammatory and personal?
Yeah, of course.
I don't hate Unity as an engine, but the community is weirdly cult-like. Like, Unity is the best thing ever, which is it clearly isn't. It's clearly Unreal Engine. Haha. And I just don't like this happy flannel-wearing game developer vibe I get from the Unity community. I grew up with, like, Carmack, Romero, and those kind of
those characters, they are characters. They were standing for something and not maybe this you shader. Yeah, I totally get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, they had an edge to it. They made shooters that were violent, that were in the media back then, and kind of an edgelord vibe. I mean, it was all tongue in cheek and fun. I mean, Duke Nukem, come on. And stuff like that back in the day, like the original Unreal and all of. But now there are so many like we want to be inclusive and make happy games that make people, and that's not my vibe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just our generation, I think.
Yeah,
games
used to be like this crummish thing in the back that you a gamer, and now it's like this mainstream.
It has become mainstream. Yeah. And back then, you were like the one strange guy in the classroom that played video games. Yeah.
Yeah, you were a fan of shooters, so naturally you must be a school shooter.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, what engine do you prefer out of all these you have used? What's your favorite engine?
Wow. If Bugsy is listening, he's going to bite into the table, but I think it's Kangaroo Classic.
He won't listen, trust me. I don't think he will listen at all.
The fucker.
Yeah.
No, maybe he does. Love you, buddy. No, but really, Kangaroo Classic, I think, is currently my favorite engine. I had most fun with FPS Creator back in the day, but you can't turn back the clock. So it's Kangaroo Classic for sure.
Cool, nice. I honestly didn't expect this, but nice. So it's been an amazing talk. Thanks so much for being here. And this is my last question to you.
Alrighty.
Why didn't you release a commercial game yet?
Well, you may have noticed that I never released one of my big projects. You can argue that I released Spectre in a way because I released all the alpha versions to the public, but I never actually made one of my games, just small ones and side projects that were finished. And if I release a game commercially, it has to be at least 3 to 4 hours long. It has to be stable and work for almost everyone. And all the media and sounds I use, I have to have the the license.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of modding content that is probably from somewhere like I noticed when I released Euthanasia, some people were saying that some of the sounds I have from a free library were actually from Resident Evil. Or maybe Resident Evil also used sounds from a free library because it was the Wild West back then, as we discussed. But yeah, I don't want to go through the trouble and licensing every custom bullshit I have in the game. Know what I mean? Every grass texture. So
yeah.
If I ever make a super awesome game that's 3 to 4 hours long, I will do that. But so far that hasn't happened.
Yeah. So, is there anything left you would like to say?
Well, we were barely talking about Dark Skies and your games.
Oh shit! Yeah. I don't. It's my podcast. Basically, our podcast is not my podcast. I do the editing and I host it, but it's clearly our podcast, right? But okay, let's ask. You can ask a few questions.
All right. Dark Skies, the story.
Oh my!
Is it going to come to a conclusion, or is the game just going to stop?
No. It's definitely. I have written down so many notes over the years. Some are completely, nuts, and I have no idea how I will, visualize that, those ideas. But there's definitely, a vague path I want to follow for the ending of Dark Skies. But if it turns out the way I want to, let's see.
I was playing all the test versions, the early versions, and I also remember Zone Raider.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering how you ended up using BSP guns instead of Errant AI's guns or some other gun pack.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. First of all, Errant AI makes the best quality stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
The animations are simply amazing. The amount of detail and work he puts into his animations and weapon models is insane. Like, you can think it's a literal AAA, media creator.
And a little aside, he was actually working in the industry in the past, and I don't understand why he is stuck on these kind of crummy engines we use, like Game Guru and FPS Creator. Because if you are kind of familiar with the stocks, with the marketplaces of the other engines, stuff like that, fully animated, fully developed weapons, you don't find that very often. You don't find that at all. Not as easy to use as this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah.
I don't understand why he doesn't sell these on the Unreal Engine marketplace or the Unity asset store.
Yeah.
But that's just an aside. It's his decision after all.
Yeah, BSP, for example, he sells his guns on the Unity store.
Yeah, I have them for the engine.
Oh, cool. Yeah. About Errant AI, it's so strange to see his prime work, his great quality stuff in the stupidest of games.
That's a problem, yes.
That's such a shame. Sorry, it's such a shame because on Steam, basically, we have like a one map game with Game Guru made by someone. I don't know who it was. And you get sick, sort of these weapons because they have been used so many times in shitty projects.
I understand what you say because it's really unfortunate. It was like that in the early days of FPS Creator as well. That's something I can tell actually. I didn't use his weapons at first because my level design was not as good as the weapon models. It looked out of place. And of course, other people didn't give a fuck. They had some kind of retarded box and one of his fully featured assault rifles in the screenshots. And oh man, that was a strange time, like 2007, 2008, before the community got good. But yeah, it took me a while to be on that level. Right now, I think they fit well, like a metric pulse, a Atropos Mandate. The guns look cool in those. There are a lot of custom rigs in that as well. But yeah, I know what you mean with Game Guru because his weapons are also so specifically military. The animations, the way they look. And then you see them in some completely retarded zombie clown shooter game and
with bright colors and everything. Yeah, absolutely. But I still haven't answered your question.
True.
So I went with the BSP weapons because I think they are much... first of all, frag motion won't open most of EAI's weapons.
The new one, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Too many polygons.
Yeah. So that's a big issue for me because I want to have many guns in my game. And
over 70.
Yeah. It's like...
I think you may have a problem.
Yeah, it's like Todd Howard about 16 times the detail. Yeah, it's becoming this running gag.
16 times the detail.
And it's much easier for me to edit the BSP rig and, slap any gun I want on those arms.
I have a lot of respect for you to make so many guns because I hate rigging in frag motion.
Yeah. It's actually... I'm so grateful for you to teach me this because... without you, there wouldn't be 70 plus guns in Dark Skies, basically.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have to apologize if I was an asshole to some people asking me stuff about frag motion, but there was a time where every day I logged onto the computer, two people wanted to know something about frag motion, so I was like, oh no, this has to stop.
Yeah.
So I wrote everything down in tutorials that I link now, and good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got these comments also, so I made these tutorial videos, and now I think it's good as well, yeah. They have what they want, and... By the way, speaking about YouTube comments, I always like, please, can you give weapon asset for free? Or like, someone was like, can you send me your Game Guru whole folder? Like, yeah, I'm going, of course, to upload 200 gigabytes of Game Guru stuff on Mediafire. Yeah, for sure. No worries, bro. Yeah.
Especially since it's stuff that you made in your style for your projects with a lot of hard work, and you're not just going to give it to some random asshole on the internet to throw them all in a map and put that on Steam.
Yeah, it's personal stuff, man. Even the idea of someone asking this is completely insane to me.
Yep.
So I think, did I answer your question? I think so.
Yes, you use BSP's weapons because you can rig to them and because you have seen the AI weapons in too many games.
Yeah, it's not about EIS weapons at all. It's only about me being able to handle the BSP rig better than EIS, because EIS is much more complicated. There are much more bones to handle, and BSP's rig skeleton is very simplified compared to EIS. It still has enough stuff in it, but the necessary stuff is there, and no fancy additions or anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use the old R&AI models for my upcoming game.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Just to have a bit of variety, because, as I said, a bit frustrated with how Spectre ran, and I can't see this weapon again.
Mm.
I've sent them to you, actually, so you can use them.
Yes.
What I kind of like is when, this is going to be a little evil, when someone asks me about my weapons, and I can tell by the way he asks, he wants me to simply send him my guns for download, even though they are also very customized. And I start to explain that you have to rig them in frag motion and how that works, and I can feel just him shutting down. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but sometimes you can be an ass. I mean, I can.
Yeah, that's awesome, yeah. It's a very easy way to throw someone off, yeah. He runs away like a scaredy cat, yeah. Any other questions?
Yes. You make the best nature environments in Game Guru.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's safe to say.
Thank you.
They're really cool ones by C4Ever, and I think I made some pretty cool jungle levels too, but yours are the most convincing to me. What is your secret in this case? Is it the sepia shader that you used to use, or why do you say, what gives your nature the edge?
So basically, it starts with the terrain, right? So it's very important to have like a terrain you can work with. I always choose dark terrains with specular shaders, and it's always a bit shiny, maybe unrealistic, but I like the look of it. It also has that, really, it looks like an old engine, but in a positive way.
I was going to say, yeah, we are children from the generation where, wow, it's shiny, was cool.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's the vegetation textures. Then they need to fit together. And
yeah, I noticed you actually retextured all of them. They are a bit more olive and yellowish than just bright green.
Mm-hmm. So it comes to retexturing a lot. And I also have a wide variation of vegetation on all of the outside levels. So trees, dead trees, many grass types, when I make my vegetation, the Game Guru vegetation, the normal grass, I always combine multiple grass textures into one, and it looks better because it's not as it's the same grass sprayed all over the terrain. So you need to look a second or two to realize, okay, this is indeed everything the same. But I wouldn't say to make it look realistic, but somewhat decent at least.
Yeah, right. That explains it very well.
And don't have flat terrain. Like, you got the tools, why don't you use it? Like, it's so easy to make cool looking mountains in Game Guru, and nobody is, I made a tutorial for this, but I want to see more people utilizing the Rams tool or something like that in a more efficient way.
I've actually linked your video a couple times already
to
people.
And they never look at it, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so, because you see a lot of these 1999 hills, that look like boobies. Yep. And my last question to you is, as I said earlier, I was a bit frustrated after I couldn't really Spectre, and I often take breaks for a while. And that's also kind of cool with this hobby, FPS Creator and Game Guru. You can have a game in a couple months. 3 months, you can have a really cool game. You don't do that in Unreal Engine.
Absolutely, yeah.
No way. Like I lost a couple months where I didn't really do anything now, and that would be so detrimental if I was actually still working on Spectre. I would have lost this time where I was doing other stuff. Now I can just jump right back in, and it's fun again. But what about you? You have these extremely complex projects. You have several of them, and you are very consistent with your output. Like Dark Skies is a gigantic game. It's on Steam. It's awesome. Taipei Contract already has several levels. You have made contest games like the Schweinemann series, like the Barami Contract, I think it was. You have made Zone Raider. You have made Cold Contract. You have made Outskirts of Paradise.
Oh yeah, Lord,
you have made so many games, and I wonder, how do you stay motivated? What do you do when you're frustrated with something? Do you just have an iron will and the discipline of a soldier, or what is it?
Oh wow, so it really comes down to creative energy, I think. Like I've been releasing an update for Dark Skies on New Year's Eve, I think. And since then, don't tell anyone, I didn't do anything on the game. And I really feel like I need those breaks. Like I need to, listen to music, play other games, and I got that moment from time to time where I see something in a game and I'm like, yeah, of course, I need to add something similar to Dark Skies also. Like you get a random idea and it gets you so hyped up that, okay, I'm ready to work again. And then I'm going crazy on working hours for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then another big Dark Skies update is done or a new game is done basically. And when it comes to Taipei Contract, I had the moment several times in the years where I have the soundtrack I made for Taipei Contract on my phone, and sometimes I listen to it and the music in a way gets me in such a mood that I want to get back to the game project and be in this world again. And then I have new ideas. Okay, so I gotta make an outside level where the city is in the distance. And of course it is heavily inspired by Cyberpunk. And so I made this outdoor level which doesn't have any story or gameplay, but it's there and I think it's cool to look at.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like the Deus Ex version of Cyberpunk with the fake background and everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting to look at.
But it's those simple but effective solutions that it's what makes Game Guru games, the development of GG games so fun and, experimenting with stuff that hasn't been done before.
It's also kind of the low-tech, low-poly, yesteryear look of everything that makes it fun to make, kind of, because it's kind of like making a little model. Everything is a bit of an illusion. I think you lose that if you if someone is new to Unreal Engine and they what do? They buy a couple asset packs and clam them together, and you kind of lose this tinkering around, making some kind of stupid grass model and everything. Everything that is fun is kind of being sucked out by these professional processes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I had some fun making levels in Unreal Engine simply because I was insisting on using my low-poly asset collection, and it was really interesting to see those in a real, quote-unquote, real engine. But that was the only part that was fun.
Seeing the results, you mean?
Yeah, putting something you have seen in Game Guru and FPS Creator into Unreal and looking at how it looks.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned this because this was also really nice to see in Unity for me as well. The level I made basically consists only of Game Guru assets. Yeah, that was good to see. But yeah, that's everything. That's the whole fun of it already for me. Those engines feel like work.
Exactly. Yes, and as I said, if you have a Game Guru or FPS Creator project, you kind of see the horizon. You know, okay, I have to do this, and then the game is done. With an Unreal Engine or Unity project, you're looking at years of work, and I just go, fuck this. This is not fun.
And what about Source Engine?
Source Engine is the worst thing ever.
Okay.
I love games made with it, but using it is impossible. I know I'm a Game Guru user, so my opinion is probably not valid to most people. But the act of importing your assets one by one is so grueling and so far away from my workflow, from the programs I use, from the things I'm used to. And then you have to select everything from a list. You cannot scale objects in the editor. You have to construct everything out of brushes. And I'm by now used to construct everything out of my own models. You don't see the light mapping in the editor.
Wow. Okay.
To import custom guns, you basically have to mod the ones that you have. I mean, we do that too, but there is a lot more to choose from than just the Half-Life 2 weapons.
Yeah.
And again, it's grueling work to... Bugsy has fantastic results with it, but he also makes a game that is very specifically designed to work well in Source Engine. Source Engine is really shitty at terrain and foliage and vegetation like we use. I mean, imagine making a level in a forest and you can't scale the trees or the bushes.
Unbelievable, yeah. Painstakingly, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't scale in FPS Creator either, but your level, it has the size of a shoebox, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But Source it's just too frustrating for me to use. I have huge respect for Bugsy. I have huge respect for the woman who made G-String.
Yeah.
But I don't have that kind of stamina or patience for my projects.
Yeah, me neither, yeah.
I mean, it kind of seeps through. I'm a bit lazy.
Me also, but you know, there's a really nice saying, don't work hard, work smart.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we are fine. It's been 1 hour and 42 minutes. Can you believe that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Holy shit. This is a lengthy talk, and thank you for everyone who's listening still to this minute. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and I hope I wasn't too negative with some of the things. I mean, we started out by saying, like, fucking people making bad games, and then... But I think the discussion was really interesting. We touched on a lot of topics, and yeah, whoever is still listening, you're a gentleman. That's me out.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks so much for being here today. It was an amazing episode, and I'm really looking forward to episode 3. I don't know who my guest will be, but I got a few to choose from, actually, and I can say that some guests are... I was getting pretty nervous when I got their agreement, so let's watch the space, as Lee likes to say. And with this one, I will say thanks for listening and see you next time. This was episode 2 of GuruCast, the Game Guru podcast for the community, by the community. Thank you so much for listening, and take care, everyone. See you next time.